I'm beside myself with that. I wanted to actually talk about something that was really interesting to me, right? Really interesting, because the mouth of the South, the former WBO welterweight champion of the world. We know Brian Norman Jr. He's done away with his father. His father is not his trainer no more. He's decided to spread his wings and go see what he can do in the fight game without Senior. So what has he done? Who has he been spotted with? Who is the front runner to become Brian Norman Jr.'s trainer? Well, it looks like that guy is none other than Derrick James, because, and we'll go to screen share. Shout out to everybody here. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Don't be stingy on me. If you're here and you haven't hit that like button, it takes 2 seconds and it helps this channel continue to stay popping off and relevant in the fight game. But yeah, this is Brian Norman Jr. He was out there in the friendly confines of Oak Cliff, Dallas, Texas, at the world class boxing gym with Derrick James. And my early thoughts about this, I've seen people say that they think Derrick James, like I've seen Derrick James getting shitted on as a coach, and I don't think that's fair to Derrick James. I think Derrick James is a fantastic coach, and he's getting shitted on because Earl got beat up by Terrence and all these things. I don't hate. I'm okay with it, because I think, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because Brian Norman Jr., he's a guy that we all know he's got power. We all know he's a great athlete. I think he needs to be more focused on the fundamentals of boxing, right? He has good fundamentals, but I think he need at that world class championship level, he needs to have that at the forefront of his mind a lot more. And one thing Derrick James will do for any fighter, not just Brian Norman Jr., but any fighter, from Earl Spence to Frank Martin to Alicia Bumgarner to Anthony Joshua when he had him, you name it. He's always going to keep the fundamentals of boxing at the forefront of a fighter's mind, and he's always going to give fighters a nice, disciplined, regimented base to go off of, right? So we'll see how it goes. I'm not shocked that he went to Derrick James for a couple of reasons. Number one, Brian Norman Jr.'s manager is Adrian Clark from Fighters First Management. Adrian Clark used to help out. I'm not sure if he was his manager, but I know he played a role in advising and helping to guide Earl Spence when Earl Spence is coming up. And I know that Brian Norman Jr. and Earl Spence have a relationship together. So this doesn't shock me. This is actually kind of what I expected. And I'm here for it, really, because I think people don't give Derrick James the credit he deserves. Derrick James is a fantastic trainer. He built Earl Spence from the ground up and made him, a 3-belt unified champion. So right there, that tells you that right there already stamps him in the game as a top trainer. I always tell you guys, any coach that builds a fighter from the ground up and makes them a world champion is a certified, stamped trainer in the boxing game. He took Earl Spence from the ground up, made him an Olympian and a 3-belt unified champion. And all Earl Spence did was just lose to, arguably the greatest fighter of his era, which was Terrence Crawford. So there's no shame in that. It doesn't discredit anything Derrick's done. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to seeing maybe a Brian Norman Jr. who's more focused on the fundamentals. And the crazy thing about boxing is that when you focus more on the simple things, it actually unlocks the other things. So when you're more focused on working your jab and just hand positioning and maybe how you exit exchanges and things like that, when you focus on those minute things, those things can unlock the things that people really want to see from Brian Norman Jr. the most, which is the power, which is the explosiveness, which is, the athleticism that he does have. All those things that had the world on fire when he knocked out Giovanni Santillan and Daryl Cuevas and Jin Suzuki and them kind of guys. All those things can be actually amplified to an even higher degree than they already have if he just works on the fundamentals a bit more and boxes behind his jab and doesn't get so, trying to load up on his shots so much, So that's why I feel Derrick James could make a difference for Brian Norman Jr. I don't think he's going to reinvent the wheel. I don't think he's going to overly reinvent the wheel with Brian Norman Jr. Like, Brian's still young, right? But every fighter has their tendencies. Every fighter has, their patterns that they follow. And I think that Derrick James is going to, like I said, put his imprint on Brian Norman Jr. Funny enough, I feel like Anthony Joshua should have never left Derrick James, because I thought Anthony Joshua was actually doing very, very well under Derrick James. When he left Derrick James, that was actually, I thought, a stupid move on his part, because I thought Derrick James had him doing the things he needed to do, just boxing as a disciplined, power punching fighter, and that's exactly what Norman is going to be. He's going to be a disciplined, well-schooled, power punching fighter, which he already is. But there's just going to be a more of an emphasis on his fundamentals if he goes this route and goes to Derrick James, in my opinion, right? We'll see how it all plays out. We know, though, what we can't say about, Derrick James and a lot of the fighters he has coached, like Errol Spence, like even Frank Martin, is that when these guys run into more mobile boxers, because the Derrick James style, you could say, is more of a come forward style. They haven't always fared the best. That if you want to give a criticism, you can give that criticism. But I'm here for it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I still believe Brian Norman Jr. has the ability to become a world champion again, and I still think Derrick James is a top coach. And I feel like and it's what I hate about people in boxing is like, you lose one fight as a fighter or trainer, and now all of a sudden you're not anything, and it's a hard sport to make it in. So respect to Brian Norman Jr. for moving fast in his career, for making a tough decision, and maybe, like, I'm sure it wasn't an easy conversation to have with his dad. His dad's is a proud man, you understand, and his dad wasn't going to be second fiddle to nobody. So respect to Junior for having that conversation and moving fast, and respect to Senior for respecting his son's decision and allowing him to be his own man. I know it's a struggle for a lot of fathers. Sometimes they don't want their son to be their own man, and he has. So I pray that their relationship stays well, and I'm sure he's still going to, behind the scenes, when Junior has a question, he's going to be there for his son. It's his son, right? But Derrick James has been on that level. He succeeded on that level, and he can add a little bit something different to the table. So I'm excited. I feel like people are being unfair to Derrick James and saying that he's a terrible coach and he can't do this, he can't do that. It's, the proof's in the pudding with Errol Spence. I know a lot of times I've come on here and I've said, a lot of you guys overrate Errol Spence, but in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the fight game, Errol Spence is a very good, he's a top fighter. He's a guy that was an American Olympian and a 3-belt unified champion. Those don't grow on trees. Damn good fighter. Derrick James built that. You understand? So put some respect on Derrick James.